So the news is related to his role in the Twilight movies, which most people remember him from. I mean, he's done a lot of other things now. I'm going to be surprised there are people who are fans of him, I guess, who aren't really into Twilight or know much about Twilight. But I mean, like most people, I haven't really thought of them in years at this point, the Twilight movies. But it seems like Robert Pattinson has been kind of dealing with blowback from those movies for a while now, which isn't surprising. I mean, a lot of people were very rude to him and hated him back in the day for those movies, which I think was unfair. Just because, besides the fact that he didn't write the movies. I mean, I've never seen them to be honest. I've just heard they're bad, but I mean, he always seemed like a decent actor. It's not really his fault that they were bad, so that was always a bit unfair. But anyway, according to Entertainment Weekly, Pattinson recently did an interview where he mentioned people still come up to him insulting the Twilight movies and his role in them, and he said, and I'm going to spare the crappy fake British accent, but he said, people keep telling me, man, Twilight ruined the vampire genre. Are you still stuck on that, again, word that starts with S that I'm not going to read because this is a show for kids? How can you be sad about something that happened almost 20 years ago? I mean, I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, it has been close to 20 years at this point. I mean, nearly just a few years off before it's been 20. It's been probably 20 years since the book came out, or well, I don't know. I didn't read the books, but it's probably been about that long. So that makes me feel kind of old. I mean, I don't really remember when the first movie came out, and I mean, I remember have memories from that time period, but not related to that movie. But I mean, I remember when the last ones were coming out, and it was kind of a big deal. But I didn't see them, so I guess I can't really talk completely what like the fan culture and hype and all that was about them then. But I don't know. It still makes me feel old. Like, Jesus, 20 years at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that kind of tying into the first thing I said. If you're going up to Robert Pattinson and complaining about how movies he was in quote ruined the vampire genre, then I mean you are a loser to be able to do that. And to be fair for just a second to those people, those movies were pretty bad. Let's be real. I think I haven't seen them, but come on. I mean, I'll put it this way: if there's no way a movie that has a plot of an adult falling in love with a baby, how that can be good, they just can't. But they didn't really ruin the vampire genre just because like the genre was pretty much dead at that point anyway. So I don't blame them for that. I mean, I feel like a lot of people say that it ruined the vampire genre. I mean, what other like big popular vampire movies were coming out in the years immediately before Twilight? I mean, Twilight, if anything, kind of saved the vampire genre, at least in terms of it took it and kept it alive, but it's not good, but at least it's there. But I mean, is vampire even a genre in the first place, though? I mean, I guess that's another thing to why it's stupid that people complain about this because vampire is not really a genre. I mean, genres for movies don't go, western, science fiction, drama, vampire. I mean, that's not a thing. And also, according to Entertainment Weekly, Robert Pattinson also said, "quote I find it hard to believe the cultural relevance that these films maintain because they're so old." Well, I mean, I don't know if those are the exact words I would use to describe the lingering feelings about Twilight, but okay, I mean, I get his point. Although I feel like he might be kind of wrong about that too, because again, when's the last time people have really thought that much about Twilight? Has it really been a franchise that's enduring to the point where people are still talking about it like it was just yesterday? And this is the most I've thought about those movies in again years at this point. I mean, I know they wrote like another book or something like that. I don't know, but I don't care about that. I'm not reading that. But something the article mentioned when I was reading it, not from the interview itself, but just a point they were making, which was true, and I'll give them credit for this, was that the actors in Twilight, or at least Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, they have been able to kind of bounce back and perform in a lot more like independent art house films that are actually good. Robert Pattinson was in The Lighthouse, and well, these aren't always independent films, but these are movies where people give him credit. The new Batman movies and he's in some new science fiction movie where he's really going to be cloned and stuff. It looks interesting. So I don't know. I mean, he's so good for him for like he's gotten to be like a very respected actor. I think he's been nominated for an Oscar too. I don't think he's not won, but he's really kind of bounced back. And I mean, yeah, that probably was not easy for them to do considering they're starting from so far back. I mean, they're starting from a point that most actors wouldn't even be asked to start from. They're kind of worse off than if they had no performances under their belt and had no movies beforehand. So good for them for being able to come back from that. But anyways, I mean, I guess there really wasn't too much I wanted to say about all this besides, I mean, I do want to give Robert Pattinson credit for the fact that he was able to kind of reinvent himself in a way and become successful as an actor. I mean, he was successful as an actor before that in terms of monetary success, but being able to like move on from Twilight, being a really successful actor, and it is like ridiculous people would harass him in public about it. I mean, it's not like he made the movie. Although even if he did make the movies, you shouldn't be harassing him in public about it. But I just do want to say, let's keep all this in perspective for a second. Those were some bad movies you were in, man. Like Jesus Christ.